So you want to display all the form entries that happen on your WordPress website for your visitors on the front end of your website. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate exactly how to do that. Let's go. Now, before I demonstrate the actual process, let me clarify a couple of things. You might or might have a form plugin already installed on your site and looking to maybe just show the form entries on the front end of the website. And I have to clarify that the functionality or the process of getting this functionality on your website will heavily depend on the plugin that you've already chosen. So if it's a one-off thing, you might be able to pull it off by putting something together or hacking a solution together. But if this is something that you'll use regularly, it's much better and much more easier and much less headache to just get a plugin that supports this functionality out of the box. That way you'll not have to mess with code. You won't have to mess around with code and won't have to make any modifications to your files in WordPress. And that way you have peace of mind as well. So what I've done is divided this video into two parts so I can demonstrate both the different processes. In the first method, where I'll demonstrate a form plugin which already supports this functionality, and I'll show you how much easier it is to just get a form plugin which supports this functionality to have a view or have a front-end display of all the form entries on the site. It's very easy. And the second one is where I'm going to be using another plugin which does not support this functionality out of the box, but I'll be using some code snippets and putting together a solution which can actually replicate this. And depending on the form plugin you're using already, you might be able to get some inspiration or understand. And if you're not have decided yet on the form plugin to use, then I'll be able to give you some information about what you can expect with the form plugins that I'm going to demonstrate this functionality with. Now, in both cases, of course, I'm going to demonstrate the process completely in as much detail as possible. But you can decide for yourself after watching the demonstration which form plugin is good for you. And as I said, if you use this functionality often, or if it's business critical to your website, or it's very important to your website, it's better to choose the form plugin which already supports this functionality. I hope with that clarification, you have the right mindset to watch this video. Let's get started with the first form plugin, or the form plugin, which already supports this functionality out of the box, which is Formidable Forms. Let's go. So I'm inside the admin area of my WordPress website. And as I mentioned, the first demonstration is going to be with a form plugin that supports this functionality out of the box called Formidable Forms. The website is formidableforms.com. This is what the website looks like. And you can check out all the different functionality. This is a powerhouse of a form plugin. And I'd say it's much more than a form plugin. So you can check this out. And just to clarify, the functionality that we're going to work with, which is displaying the form entries on the front end, is not available in the free version. There's a free version which is very powerful, but this functionality in particular is not available in the free version. So you can go to the pricing page, check out the different plans that they offer, and pick one up, whatever suits your needs. I already have the premium and the free version installed. Both of them are required to be active on the site. So I'm just going to get started with creating a form first. So what I'm going to do is go to the menu entry right here, go to forms. And inside the forms, a contact form, I already created one, or I'd say it's also included as default with the premium version. Let's check out the form plugin, how it looks like. So it's a very simple form. There's a name, there's a last name, there's an email, subject, and message. And very similar to what the form building experience is like. You have all these fields available, which you can just drag and drop. So I can just drag and drop a text field anywhere I like. I can drag and drop paragraphs. So I have the complete functionality, or complete, I say, freedom to design the form of whatever I like. So you're not limited to contact forms. You can create any kind of forms. And all of those forms will support those front-end entry views that I'm going to demonstrate. So figure this out for yourself. Whatever you want to include, that information can be included in the form itself. Just to keep this simple, I'm not going to modify this. The simple contact form is more than enough for me. So I'll just update this because I made some changes. I don't want to mess this up. And what I've done is, once this is updated, I'll create a new page to embed this form on the site. So I'll click the embed button, which is a much faster way to do this. I can create a new page, and I'll just name this. I'll say contact us, create page. And now a page has been created and the contact form has been embedded. Let's publish the post as well. Let's publish it and also open it up in a new tab just to see how it looks. So simple contact form, it will work as any other contact form. And what I'm going to do is just pause the video here, right here. Make a few entries for this, because if you want to demonstrate how it will look like on the front end when we display it, you will need some entries to work with, right? So I'm going to pause the video right here, fill this form up with a few different entries so that we can start working on it. All right, pause the video right here. So I've made some entries in the form already. You can see your responses were successfully submitted. Let's go back to the website. I'll show you how the entries look like, and then we will start the process of creating a page where we can display these entries on the front end. So going back here, if you go to the formative forms and you go into entries, this is where you'll be able to see all the entries that happen throughout the forms on your website. Since I just have one form, you can see all these entries were made on this contact us form. And you can also view these entries. For example, if I want to just see what the actual entry was, all the details, I can click the view option and I'll see all these options available, or at least all the details will be visible. Now, of course, we want to display this on the front end. So what we'll do, the process to begin this is by going into the form section. And once you're in the forms, open the form that you want to create a view for, or you want to display the entries for on the front end. And one thing you might not have noticed, or you might have noticed, is this views option right here. And views is the functionality that we'll be using to create a front end view for all the form entries that happen on the website. Now you might notice that this is grayed out because this actually is part of Formidable Forms add-ons. And what is add-ons? Add-ons is like plugins for Formidable Forms, because not everybody uses all the functionalities or all the different functionalities that Formidable Forms offers. So they created a add-on system where you can just pick and choose for certain functionality that you want to use that keeps the plugin size manageable. So if you want to check out all the add-ons, you can go into the add-on section. Let me go here. And you'll see I have the pro version already installed. I have the active campaign, authorized net, just tons of say add-ons available for Formidable Forms. You can transfer your details to Google Sheets, or you have the API, you have geolocation, you have landing pages, MailChimp, all that good stuff. But it's not possible for me to cover everything, but you can check it out. Definitely the extensive, or the list of plugins or add-ons is quite extensive. What we're interested in is the views add-on right here. So this is the visual views add-on, which we want to use. So what I'll do is activate this, and it'll download the actual add-on from the Formidable Forms website, because my account is created and my license key is activated. And once it's done, when I go back to the forms and go to that section, the views entries will be enabled or not grayed out. So I'll go back to the edit page. And now you see the views is not actually disabled, or it's the regular color, it's enabled, right? So if I go to the views option, I'll be able to start creating different views for this particular form entries. Now, let me clarify what views are. Views is just a front-end display of anything that a form captures. You can display the information on multiple pages in multiple different ways and different formats. And you can also have some customization options, which I'm going to talk about when I show you the actual process. But for this example, what I'm going to do is just simply create a simple page, show the entries in a simple table. But as I mentioned, the possibilities are actually endless with this, and depending on what your complex use case you have, you can do anything you like. So let's create a new view for this form, and you have multiple options. As I said, you can create and use a grid, you can use a calendar, you can use a table, you can create a new view from scratch, or you have application templates as well, which is a whole new feature set inside Formidable Forms. But the table one is that I'm interested in, but you can actually create one from scratch. If you have a custom functionality that you are trying to build on your site, you can actually do this. For example, let's say testimonials, you're collecting testimonials for your users and you want to display them in a certain way. All is possible with Formidable Forms. So let's go to the table option, because that's the easiest one right now. And what I'll just name this table, contact us table, makes sense. Let's create a view. And now this is where some interesting functionality comes in. Of course, the form captures some details that are entered by the user, but it also captures a lot of details which are captured automatically. For example, when was the form submitted? So you have all these details. You have the name, email, message, last name, and subject, which is of course what the users fills in. But you also have the entry creation date, entry updated date, entry key, status, which is metadata about the form itself. You can choose which of these details you want to showcase on the front end. So for example, I want to display just the first name, the email, and just the message. Let's say that's all I want to include. Let's also include the subject just for kicks, right? I'll create a view, and in just a couple of seconds, the view is now loaded, and you can already see the information from the form that I showed you inside the entries already showing up here. So the form fields we selected, you have the name, the email, the subject, and the message showing up already with some customization options, which I'm going to talk about. Now, obviously, it makes sense to have all this information, but the email, of course, is a privacy issue because we are going to make this public information. So what do I do if I want to change which fields I selected? Well, you go to the Manage Columns option, and you deselect the fields that you don't want to have, let's say email. And you can also say, hey, when was this entry created? Maybe this is useful information. So I'll add this field here. I'll update the view. And now these are all the details that are visible on the form. But let's say I want to have the entry creation date as the first field. So I'll just click this 6 dotted menu. I'll just drag it to the front end. and leave it there. And now I can rearrange the columns as well. So just demonstrating some powerful functionality inside the views, which is very easy to utilize and understand and utilize. So this is the entry, or this is the where the form entry views is showing up, which is very obvious. But what is this and this? Well, these are places where you can add content before or after the form. So let's say I want to add headings, some images, some custom data before the form or before the views or before the actual entries. I can do that. I can do that after that as well. So let's say I click this and I type in, these are all user responses from a contact form. And let's say I make this H4. Let's update the view. So now you can see the H4 has been added. So this just gives you even more control over what you want to include on the front end page where this will be displayed. Of course, you can do that on the page itself as well. I'm going to demonstrate that, but this might be useful because you can also add some dynamic data here. So the same functionality you can do after the content. And of course, there's many other features that you can utilize. You can add custom CSS classes. You have different styling options. You have the grid option, advanced settings. I'm not going to go into all those details because again, this might become overwhelming. But the idea here is that formidable forms, the view functionality is very, very powerful, and the form plugin, apart from the views, is also very powerful. So we've created this view, right? So, but this exists right now only inside the plugin. Similar to how we first created a form and then we embedded it on a page, we also will need to create the view, which we already did, and embed it on a page. So what we're going to do now, embed this on a page, and the method or the way you do it is a little bit different. Instead of having the embed option here, what you will do is copy the shortcode for this particular view, which is right here. So you see display form data ID 11, just click the copy button, and of course it's on your clipboard already. Let's go back to the contact form page. I'll go back to the dashboard. I'll create a new page on the site. I'll create a page, add new, and I'll just name it contact form entries, right? And inside the block editor, I'm going to do a block for a shortcode. So shortcode block. And inside the shortcode block, I'll just paste the shortcode that I just copied right here. Display form this. I already have it on my clipboard. I'll just paste it and leave it at that. Now I'll publish this page. Publish this page. Done. Let's open it up in a new tab and we'll see the form entries displayed with all the information that we did. So contact form entries, this is the heading of the post, which I added. And these are all the user responses from the contact form, which is what we added here. And you have the form entries displaying right here on the page. This is the powerful functionality inside formidable forms. Very easy to utilize, very powerful, and very quick to do. Of course, this demonstration might have taken me 10 minutes to demonstrate, but it's very easy to do it. You can just do this in like 2-3 minutes of your time and have all this data. Again, I said this is just the tip of the iceberg in where it comes to even the views functionality. The entire plugin is very powerful. You can create quizzes, calculators, all that good stuff with formidable forms. So make sure to check it out. The link is in the description of this video. And if you're liking this video thus far, just make sure to hit the like button on this video. So this covers the first part of the video where I mentioned that I'll be using a plugin which has an inbuilt functionality to do this. Now let's go or switch to the second part of the video, which is using custom functionality, or we're creating this functionality using a plugin that does not support it natively. And I'm going to be using a plugin called WP Forms, which is again a fantastic plugin, but does not have the native functionality to display form entries. So I'm going to use some code magic to add that functionality or create that functionality exclusively for WP Forms. It might not work exactly for any other form plugin, but I'm going to demonstrate it with WP Forms. All right, so I'll pause the video for a second. I'll install WP Forms, create a contact form because that's very easy to do. Then we'll go into the good stuff of how to add this functionality on the website. So I'll see you in a second. All right, so I've done a few things to speed up the process of demonstrating how this is going to work with WP Forms. WPForms.com is the website. If you want to check out the plugin itself, you can find all the details here. There'll be a link in the description of this video as well. Now, just to clarify, this functionality again, which we're going to create, not use existing functionality, will also be, we'll be using the premium version of WP Forms. It's not available in the free version of WP Forms. So if you want to follow along with WP Forms, then you can just use the premium version, or let's say if you decide to use WP Forms or you're sold on WP Forms, you'll need the premium version to follow along this tutorial. What I've done is already installed WP Forms on the site. I've created a form already. This is the form. I've already created a page and I submitted a few entries already, similar to what I did in the previous demo example. So if you want to see the entries, just let's go on that. We'll see the entries right here. WP contact form, we have 3 entries already done. Now, what we need to do to display these entries is to use a code snippet, So what we'll be doing is adding some custom functionality to WP Forms to give it the ability to display the form entries on the front end of the website. Now, you don't need to understand the code snippet. You don't need to understand what's going on. You just need to copy and paste the code snippet. And the easiest way to do that is by using another plugin which helps you manage code snippets. Because let's say, for example, you take a code snippet, you add it to some of your theme files or WordPress files, and you mess up. That means your site goes down. That's a risky way, right? So if you use a plugin to manage the code snippets, it's much more safer, and you can enable and disable code snippets. So let's say you're trying to find a solution that the solution you're finding is from a few years ago, and you're not sure if that's the right functionality. You add it to your site. If it doesn't work, you can always shut it down or delete it, right? So that's the safe way. So what we'll be doing is adding another plugin to the site, which is called WP Code. I'll go to the plugin section. I'll search for it. It's a free plugin, which will help us add code snippets on the site. So if we go to the add new section of the plugin section inside the website, we'll see we can type in WP Code. Let us search for a second. We'll find WP Code here. This is the plugin. Just remember this blue icon. This is very easy to understand, or I say easy to notice. Let's install the plugin. And once this is done, I'll also show you where to find the code snippet, because of course, if I show you on the screen, it's not going to be easy for you to copy it. So we have a blog post on our website where the code snippet is already embedded. So I'll link that in the description as well. This is the blog post that I've already opened up, displaying WordPress form entries using WP Forms. This is the code snippet. Again, this might be overwhelming. Don't worry, you don't need to understand it. Just need to copy and paste it. I'll show you how it works. Very simple to understand. So once the plugin is installed and activated, or at least installed, let's activate the plugin. And what I've done is just copied the entire code snippet to Notepad. So I can copy and paste without having to switch tabs. You can do the same thing. Of course, you can refer to the original code snippet on the website as well. So WP Code is now installed. Let's go to code snippets and we'll add a new code snippet. So I'll just go off screen. I'll copy the code snippet on my clipboard already. And what we need to do is add a new custom snippet. So I'll click on the add your custom snippet. I can add a title. I can say WP Forms Frontend, which will help me identify why I created this code snippet. I'll switch this to PHP code snippet because it's a PHP code snippet. And I'll paste the entire code snippet, which is also here. I already have it on my clipboard. So I'll go here, I'll paste the entire thing, done. And this is all of this functionality. Now, just if you're, I'd say, curious, what we are doing is creating a custom shortcode, which we can utilize with WP Forms. That's what we've done. And we'll be using a shortcode to display the form entries on the site. And this is the code entry that we've done to add that shortcode on the site. Now, if you remember in formidable forms, we also used the shortcode, but the functionality was already present. Here with this code snippet, we are adding that functionality. All right. So insert method should be auto insert, shortcode, run everywhere. Don't change all of this. You can add tags to remember and see, let's say I have a lot of tags, you can do this. But the important thing is to first activate this and then save the snippet, right? So I've pasted the code snippet, just switched it to PHP code snippet, just saved it. And if I go to the code snippets, you'll see that the code snippet is added and activated. Just make sure that it's done. So WP Forms Frontend, which is what we did, it's also activated. So now the code snippet functionality is done. Now what do we need to do? We need to go to create a new page and we'll use a custom shortcode, which you can utilize to display the form entries. So first I'll create a new page on the site. I'll create add new. And I'll just name it WP Forms Frontend or WP Form Entries. That's easy. Forms Entries. So now what is the shortcode that I want to use on the site, or shortcode I can use to add this? So if you go to the code snippet, it's actually displayed there already. This is the section, basic usage. This is the shortcode that we have to pick up. Now you might see that, okay, how will this shortcode help? Or is this the correct shortcode, or should you just copy and paste it directly on the site? Yes and no. What I'll do is just paste it on a notepad section of my screen and I'll demonstrate why. This shortcode, what it does is it utilizes the WP Forms forms ID to understand which form you're referring to when you want to display the front-end entries. For example, if I just type in shortcode, you'll see it doesn't have a unique identifier to understand which form you're referring to. And what you need to do is replace this form ID with the actual form or the ID of the form that you want to display the entries for. So right now I'm going to delete this just for a second. I'll go back to the site. I'll create a new tab. I'll go to WP Forms and I'll see all the forms that I have created. And of course, I've created just the one. and the form's ID is 15. So this is what I need to do. I need to go back, I need to paste the shortcode and replace the form ID with 15. Now this shortcode is complete, and now this will work on the page, on this page, right? So just to remind you what I did, I used the shortcode apart from the code snippet. I copied the shortcode from the snippet itself. This is the shortcode. I went to WP Forms. I found out the shortcode ID that the WP Forms plugin assigned to that particular form. And I used that, replaced the form ID section here with that particular number or the ID. And now I'm going to publish this page and I'm going to view it in a new tab to see if it actually works. So I'm going to publish this post right now, publish. And once it's done, let's open it up in a new tab and let's see if the form entries work. And of course, it works. So WP form entries, you have the name, email, comment or message, and there's just dummy entries that I made. Now, just as an example or just as a differentiator, what you can understand is WP Forms does not allow you to customize the fields. It will display all the fields that are coming in from the form, right? I just filled in these entries and it's all showing up right here. It's definitely merging the first name and last name, but common idea is that you cannot customize the behavior to a large degree. But with formidable forms, you had complete control over what it displayed, when it's displayed, even the order of it's displayed, and you can even create custom views if you understand HTML, and you can customize it to the nth degree. So that's the basic difference. And the thing that I said in the beginning of the video, where you should use a plugin which supports this out of the box, now you might understand why this is important to do, right? And that's it for this video. Simple ways, two different ways I'd say, to display form entries on your website. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you're interested in easy to follow along WordPress tutorials. And of course, I'll catch you in the next video very soon. Take care.